Welcome to the Confluence cast presented by Columbus Underground. We are a weekly Columbus-centric podcast focusing on the civics, lifestyle, entertainment, and people of our city. I'm your host, Tim Fulton. This week, personal struggles can open our eyes to the needs of others. That's true for Tammy Adler Foeller, the co-founder of OpenDoor Women's Recovery Alliance. They are a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting women transitioning out of incarceration or drug treatment. Tammy and I discuss her personal journey navigating her daughter's battle with addiction, how it inspired her to help others, the organization's volunteer-based support system, and where they are in their journey to grow capacity and combat stigma for those affected by the opioid epidemic. You can get more information on what we discussed today in the show notes for this episode at theconfluencecast.com. Enjoy the interview. Sitting down here with Tammy Adler Foeller, the founder, co-founder, and executive director of OpenDoor Women's Recovery Alliance. Tammy, how are you?
Hi, Tim. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
Good.
Thanks for sitting down today. First of all, could you tell us about OpenDoor and what you guys do?
It's one of my favorite topics.
Okay.
OpenDoor Women's Recovery Alliance bridges the gap for women who are in recovery from substance use disorder, either leaving incarceration or leaving treatment.
Okay.
We partner with them to befriend them and journey with them as they transition to a life outside of addiction.
Got it. And what you do is sort of surround them with folks who are volunteers, right, to basically help guide them on this new path that they're on.
That's correct. We do have a training. It's about 15 hours.
Okay.
And community volunteers. We've been so blessed. We probably have close to 100 volunteers from the community. We always need more. Mm-hmm. Since it takes 5 or 6 volunteers to journey with one woman.
Okay.
Who's in recovery. So, yes, that's the
gist of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about how you got into this space. I know you and your co-founders had some experience with your families.
We did. So my daughter struggled with substance use disorder for a lot longer than I knew.
Okay.
She started using probably when she was 12 or 13.
Okay.
And by the time she was 17, it had spiraled into a full-blown addiction. She ran away from home. She wasn't going to school. She was really in the depths of her addiction. At the same time, a woman that I met in Al-Anon, Leslie, who is another founder, her daughter was in the same situation. So we were two moms kind of sharing each other's pain and trying to figure out how to live while our daughters were dying really from this disease. And then our third partner is Rachel Muha, who is probably, I'm going to cry, is probably one of the most incredible humans on the planet. 25 years ago, on May 30th, Rachel lost her son to a kidnapping and murder in Steubenville, Ohio. And Brian was her son's name, and Brian wanted to be a pediatrician. He loved children. And so born from that, Rachel started a program. She has the Brian Muha Foundation and also the Run the Race Club. And she serves children on the hilltop, basically, who are like the guys that murdered her son.
Okay.
So Rachel is who I called when Leslie and I decided that we wanted to do something to help our community because we really didn't know what we were doing.
Okay.
And so we called Rachel and we had breakfast with her, and she said, I want to help you. I want to join you. I want to be part of this mission that
goal,
you're on. Yeah. And we knew when Rachel said she wanted to be a part of it that it was a big deal because Rachel already, she didn't really have time, but she wanted to make time.
Yeah. And so how long has the organization been around at this point?
We're still very young.
Okay.
We got our 501c3 in December of 2019.
Okay.
And 8 weeks later, the world shut down.
Yeah.
Because it was COVID. And so, that first year was a little rocky.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know if we were meant to do it, if we were meant to not do it. Being a woman of faith, I just had to keep asking, is this what you want us to do? And
Right.
every time I asked the question, I would get a phone call, an email, a text indicating that our community really does need the support.
Literally an affirmation.
Literally an affirmation.
So talk me through, we've talked through sort of the nuts and bolts of like what happens with each person, surrounding them with a new community, basically. Talk to me about the funding model and sort of how you fit into the addiction treatment ecosystem, basically. Like, first of all, how do women find you?
Great question. The answer is we have referral partners.
Okay.
And our referral partners are organizations such as HEART, which is Helping Achieve Recovery Together. That is Judge Jody Thomas, another unbelievably special person. She runs the Special Docket Municipal Court. And so women who...
Is this the catch court?
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. So there's HEART and there's Catch, and Catch is more for women who have been trafficked.
Okay.
And HEART is more for women who are struggling. And sometimes there's overlap, of
Certainly.
course.
Yeah.
If women have the option, they can go to jail or they can do a 2-year program through HEART with Judge Jody.
Okay.
And if they go through the 2-year program, they can be referred to us.
Okay.
Mary Haven is a referral partner. Base Camp is a referral partner. Freedom Recovery is a referral partner. Federal Probation of the Southern District of Ohio. Mommies Matter.
For those that are not watching this on video, you are just naming these off the top of your head, which is admirable. Talk to me so is there some certification in what you're doing, if that makes sense? Like, you guys are not proper probation officers.
We are not.
Right.
We are not.
But are you signing anything that's basically, hey, we can certify that this person successfully completed this program, they did these check-ins with these women, here are testimonials from them, and is that sort of, am I envisioning the right system?
You are.
Okay.
That's exactly right. The reason that we don't just take women that we might meet on the street
Okay.
or in a church, or someone calls and says, hey, my best friend needs help, is because we as lay people need accountability with the courts and
Okay.
with the treatment centers and with those organizations. So we work together with them. And if a woman doesn't show up for her weekly meeting, I mean, we're calling and saying, hey.
You're accountable for this thing that you signed up for.
And even getting in touch with the judge, or getting in touch with the social worker, or getting in touch with somebody who knows this person, and have they been drug tested lately, and are they showing up for you, and is there something going on that we don't know about? How can we be of help? So there's definitely, that's why it's so great to have so many referral partners, because working together is really key.
And so, to be clear, you're not the organization that's administering drug tests. You're not asking for anything like that. You are literally trying to be a support network for these people. Yes, there's a certain amount of accountability to it, but the purpose is to almost like a Big Brothers Big Sisters comes to mind. Like, sort of, this is an at-risk person, and you are providing a certain amount of structure and guidance and support to their lives.
Right, and you can look at it this way: every person that every volunteer that
Okay.
comes has a lot of social and relational capital.
Okay.
Like, all of us have 20 people that could help us in some way. So when I sit down at a table with a woman who has no resources, suddenly she has my 20 and your 20 and that person's 20, and all of a sudden, all of this social and relational capital is just given to her through us. You know, it's not like
Yeah.
she's making a cold call.
But and she has to earn it to an extent, right? Like, it's not just going to happen as soon as she gets referred to you guys. There's some onboarding.
There is some onboarding. The onboarding is actually really fun, though.
Okay.
It's, the volunteers prepare a meal
Okay.
for her. And sometimes we actually have it at Rachel's house. She
Okay.
has a farm in Galloway. Sometimes we have it in the park. Sometimes we have it, all over the place.
Yeah.
And this is to make the woman feel special and important and cared about. And then we have a week where we share, like, why are we doing this? Why am I giving up an hour a week for a stranger? And then the following week, she gets to dream. You know, where do you see yourself in 3 months, 6 months, a year? And we start putting all those things on boards.
Like a vision board.
Yeah, like a vision board. And so while we're doing that, we're building this relationship with her. We're learning about her. She's learning about us. It's very two-way. It's not like she's not our project. And so the onboard, yes, the first day that we meet her, and we've had that happen. Well, I thought you guys were going to give me diapers for my baby.
Right. That's not really what we're here for. Like, I imagine you have a Rolodex, if you will, of like additional resources that are available.
That's right.
But I also believe that probably the courts or your other referral partners, you are not the only referral that they are making to them, that there are other resources that they are pointing out to them.
Absolutely.
But again, as you go through this process, you're 4 years into it, you're pretty aware of, again, the sort of landscape that's available to these folks in Central Ohio.
Yes, and it's not a pretty landscape, actually.
Okay. And I do want to get back to that and what's unique to Columbus specifically. Talk to me about your capacity in terms of like how many women you can take on at a time. And do you do this on a rolling basis? Is there basically you're doing it as a fiscal year? Like how does that all line up?
Well, so much of it depends on our recruitment of volunteers.
Okay.
Like I said, we have close to 100 volunteers right now, and it isn't enough to serve the need. So it's all, we've told our referral partners we can take this many referrals at a time. And we want to grow that. We want that to be bigger. So our capacity is really limited by that.
Can you give me a number for like where you're at right now, just to get an understanding?
So right now we have 8 groups, 8 teams meeting. So that's about 40 volunteers that are actively working with somebody. And then if you take that number and you say every woman has 5 people in their family.
Well, and please excuse me. I know that I don't need to make an argument about what impact 8 people is, right? I would hope that people would realize that not only do those 40 people that are actively working right now have their personal network, this person has a network too, even though they don't have the necessary resources that they may need. This is having both familial and societal impact. So
absolutely.
Forgive me if at all I was quite like inferring that was not at all inferring that that's a small number. So translating that back, does that mean at any given time you sort of know we can service this number at any given time, given the number of active folks?
Well, right now I have a table ready to go, and I don't have a friend, which is what we call our participants, the women who come to us. And I'm starting to train another table tomorrow. So technically in about 6 weeks,
you may be at 10.
We may be at 10.
Gotcha.
And that's our goal. So now we have one of our volunteers reaching out to our referral partners and saying, hey, we have a group ready to go. Is there anybody in your
docket?
Right, exactly. That would benefit from.
Well, I imagine not everyone would benefit, right? That there are some, forgive me, but there are some folks who like aren't necessarily interested in going through additional recovery and aren't at a place where they want to make a change.
That's correct.
and the folks you serve are the people who you may have the best impact towards.
Yes, they actually go through an assessment to make sure that they are ready for change, that it isn't somebody else's fault still, and that they are taking responsibility for where they are, and then we can help them. Because that's the good news, right? If it's my problem, I can work on it.
For it.
Right. So that's a beautiful thing.
Talk to me about your funding then. Like, you both have volunteers, but you also need a little bit of capital in order to like get things going. You have a fundraiser coming up, which we'll talk about. But are you a grant-seeking organization? I know that you obviously accept donations, but where does your funding come from, or has it?
Well, I have to tell you a secret first, or a confession.
Okay.
When OpenDoor first was getting off its feet, I said we didn't need any money.
Okay.
Honestly, because I thought we're going to be volunteer run, and what do we need money for?
Right.
Well, here we are 4 years in, and we need to hire people, right? Because we are not sustainable as a volunteer organization.
Yeah.
We just aren't. Volunteers are fabulous. We've been super blessed, but they have families, jobs, and we aren't their job.
Yeah.
So we have had some grants, which have been wonderful. We have had some donations, which have been wonderful. And we are now we really want to get to the point where we are having recurring monthly donations. I hear that that's the secret.
Yeah.
And so we're working toward that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
that's
we need
where
it
you
from
are.
everywhere.
You are building up your development sort of capacity right now.
Yes, we are.
You are in a state of basically growing your development capacity. Like, that's sort of the state, now that we're 4 years in, that's sort of the stage that you're at. You do have, again, that fundraiser coming up in September. This is a good time. Tell us more about that.
I would love to. So we did not want to have a gala or some extravagant event for our very first event. So we decided to make it more educational, but hopefully fun. I reached out to Hillary Phelps on LinkedIn, and I told her a little bit about OpenDoor and what we were doing in Columbus. We met on a Zoom call, and she's just fabulous. How can I help you? What can I do?
Yeah. And to be clear, this is Michael Phelps' sister.
It is.
Who
She
also has a background. She has experienced some addiction issues in the past.
She has, and she's going to share her story, which will be so impactful. I think it's really important when someone who, is a little well-known or a little known, she has a name with her name.
Yeah.
And I think people will appreciate her honesty and her frankness about how her disease started and where it took her, and then how she climbed out. And now she's a public speaker. She's peer support. She is just a huge advocate for women, which is fabulous for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk me through a little bit of sort of Columbus in this space. Like, I imagine you've done a little bit of benchmarking of other metropolitan areas, or you've looked at sort of like what problems are unique to us. Like, what might folks not know about the recovery space here?
The biggest thing is people don't know that Franklin County has the largest overdose rate of all 88 counties.
Okay.
Which is not a statistic
good.
that we want, right? We want a much better statistic. Treatment is super expensive.
Okay.
I think it's expensive though across
the board, right?
And across the board, again, is insurance caps how long a person can be in treatment, all those things. I think that anywhere we took our model, any state, any city, any suburb, anywhere, it would be useful. I think that, I don't know that Columbus is especially unique. I think we're just facing the same challenges that other cities are facing. I just know that that we have the highest death rate.
Yeah.
And I don't like it.
Absolutely.
I don't like it.
Well, there's something to be done about it, right?
Right.
I end every interview with the same two questions. One of them is, what do you think Columbus is doing well? And what do you think Columbus is doing not so well? This could be in the context of your work today. It doesn't have to be in the context of your work.
So I think one of the things that sets Ohio apart is that the governor signed the first bill. I have to make sure it's a bill, but the first law that he signed as the governor was to create Recovery Ohio. And that was to bring the dollars to Ohio to help those suffering from substance use disorder. And I hope that we're a part of some of that, that we're recipients of some of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if we will be, but I'm really glad that money is being poured into our state because we need it.
Yeah.
I think that we still need to work on the stigma. I think that we are failing miserably. I think that we are not educating the public enough. We are not sharing real stories so that people can see that, I'm a mom from the suburbs and my daughter is a recovering heroin addict. We think of heroin addicts as being under the bridge in a brown paper bag with their alcohol.
Yeah.
And that is not who they are anymore. I know people who have lost children in the suburbs. So I really think, I don't know how to do it, but I really think that we could do a much better job so that the people who are suffering would not be ignored.
Absolutely.
And I don't want them to be ignored.
Absolutely.
They're people. And so,
Tammy, thanks for your time.
Sure, it was just so much fun. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you for listening to the Confluence Cast presented by Columbus Underground. Again, you can get more information on what we discussed today in the show notes for this episode at theconfluencecast.com. Please rate, subscribe, share this episode of the Confluence Cast with your friends, family, contacts, enemies, your favorite volunteer. If you're interested in sponsoring the Confluence Cast, get in touch with us. We can be reached by email at info@theconfluencecast.com. Our theme music was composed by Benji Robinson. Our producer is Philip Cogley. I'm your host, Tim Fulton. Have a great week.